So in this video, I want to talk to you about why MBAs are so expensive. So if you don't know me, I am Professor Dave Maslach. I'm an Associate Professor of Innovation Strategy and Entrepreneurship. And I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There's so many people that help me out that I want to pay the favor forward to help you out. So the biggest reason why MBAs are actually expensive is because MBAs actually, the degree, an MBA degree actually generates wealth or value. I would say value, not wealth, for the end user that is actually getting it. So there actually is value that's generated. The problem is that it's really difficult to figure out how that value is generated and what actually happens, right? So the returns in education are impossible to figure out. There's a whole bunch of what's called endogenous processes that happen to get to the point where you actually see a return on that education, right? So it might be, if you get this education at this moment, in 30 years, you might have a spark of genius because it's something that you learned in an operations research class. And then all of a sudden, the benefit of getting that education makes a lot of sense. But up until that point, the 30 years could have been a complete loss. So it's really hard to figure out what is the value that is generated from education. But you have to sort of realize that the value on average, and that's another important thing, on average is actually tends to be higher for that getting that degree than the cost it actually takes to get there. Now, why am I sort of pointing that out? So on average, you do get a lot of benefit from getting that degree. However, some degrees from some institutions are likely not worth it because they are taking advantage of this on average value that's being generated from the MBA. So you have to be very careful in terms of the institution that you're going to and what what they're demonstrating, what's going on. So there are a lot of institutions that really take advantage of that kind of stuff and will charge you a lot for an MBA that is probably really meaningless. There are benefits that you get from getting that MBA degree that are hard to see, and if you're not being pushed, if you don't have the right cohort, for example, if you don't have people that want you to think creatively, then the degree is really not going to give you any sort of advantage in the marketplace. So, simply because an MBA degree is popular in the marketplace doesn't mean it actually generates value for the consumer, but on average for the individual consumer. But on average, it does in terms of the value that's being generated. That's why they cost so much. Typically, is because people see the value once you actually get it, and companies see the value once you actually have that MBA degree. And so you could see wide ranges of salaries across people that actually get an MBA from Wharton, for example, versus an MBA from International School of Tuktoyaktuk, right? Like there is a lot of differences in terms of the MBAs that you get. I'm not pointing out in terms of running down any MBA programs, but I'm pointing out that there's massive differences between them, and you should really pay attention to those and look into those. I don't like rankings per se. However, they do give you some sort of value in terms of understanding where people situate. So, the difference between a top 100 school and a top 500 school is probably pretty big, but the difference between a top 10 school and a top 20 school is not big, and it probably doesn't matter. And so you shouldn't pay attention to those so much. So are MBAs worth it? Well, it really actually depends in terms of what you do with the knowledge that you get. So if you plan on not using that knowledge, I would not, and you just want the MBA degree because you think it looks cool, I would highly suggest you don't get it. It's not going to be worth your time and effort. If you're planning on using it to leverage, maybe it's in your own company, maybe it is in terms of going to a better institution, a better company or something like that, then there is some value there. or if you see yourself maybe in 30 years doing something that is unique and different and you can use the business knowledge, then it makes sense. But I really want to emphasize in terms of, the most important thing that I'm trying to get you to think about is that you should be very discerning with any degree that you get, because the degrees themselves don't hold a lot of value, but what holds value is the ideas that resonate with you. And there's something magical that happens when you pay a lot for something, because all of a sudden it's really important to you, and you're gonna be very cognizant of that. So just because it costs a lot doesn't mean that it is, it's overblown or anything like that, but it means that you probably are going to take it seriously. And that in itself is really, really magical in terms of what's going to go on. But as well, you might actually learn something from it. So simply the cost, don't worry about it as much, but worry about the ideas that you're going to get, and who is going to be there in terms of the cohort that you're part of. That really matters as well. And as well as what you think you're going to be doing with that. I think that these things are really important in terms of justifying the value of an MBA. If there isn't any of that there, don't do it. I'd highly recommend for you not to do it. I would discourage you from doing that. So know why you're doing it, basically, and what value you think you think are going to actually generate from that. So with that, give me a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.